I'm going to start out by saying that I'm going to be pronouncing Van Gogh's name wrong. Technically, it's supposed to be something like Van Gogh, but I know that I'm butchering it, so I'm going to say it the American way. Vincent van Gogh, one of the most famous artists of all time, actually has a very tragic story. Most people know that he was unappreciated and looked down upon as a painter in his own time, but the sorrow doesn't end there. Van Gogh was not always a painter. He was forced to leave school at age 15 due to his family's financial burdens to work for his uncle's art dealership. For a while, he was happy. He discovered his great passion for art, literature, and culture, and he fell in love. But when his marriage proposal was turned down, he spiraled into a depression. He turned his back on his passions, throwing all of his books away and being fired from the dealership for telling customers not to buy worthless art. He then embraced his childhood religion and tried to become a minister, but was denied that as well. Later, he finally started painting at the age of 27, only 10 years before his death. There are many sad things about Van Gogh's life. He hated most of his artwork. To cut costs, he would paint over all of his unwanted paintings. Every woman he loved left him. He was always poor, using himself as a subject because he couldn't afford models and depended financially on his brother for most of his life. It is often debated whether it was he or his friend Gogh who cut off his ear, but either story is an unfortunate one. He was mentally ill, spending a year in an asylum, but in that asylum is where he painted Starry Night. My point is, even with the twists and turns throughout his life, Van Gogh managed to become someone remembered and honored to this day. Never did he think he or his art would be appreciated by others, and it was beyond his wildest imagination that he would have an impact like this. There were so many obstacles in Van Gogh's life. There were so many chances for us to not have this influential painter, but everything lined up, and he ended up creating over 2,000 artworks. I know not everyone cares about art or Van Gogh, but I feel like his story is very inspiring. Though he lost hope and killed himself, which I plan to briefly discuss as something that is never the answer, his legacy will live on forever. Van Gogh's journey is a great example of serendipity because of how many obstacles he faced, how many times he failed, and the number of major plot twists in his life. Though he wasn't always the best role model to follow, his life in general shows that sometimes the most tragic of stories are the most amazing. But this talk wouldn't just be for people who admire art. I probably wouldn't spend the entire time talking about Van Gogh. After researching his life more thoroughly, I plan to connect his story to the audience, pointing out how things often don't end up how you expect them to. Sometimes, what they turn into is something greater. When things don't work out, there might be a reason for that. You can fail over and over and over, like he did, but that doesn't mean you're a failure. Your life may feel hopeless at times, but you often have a purpose beyond your understanding, and you never know how much you affect the people around you.